Sagittarius friends. Welcome to my For Sagittarius Eyes Only exclusive March 2026 astrology report for Sagittarius. I'm a fellow Sagittarius with you, so I'm excited to tell you the things that are going to be most coming up for us. I'll give you important dates. If you have a pen and pen handy, or a pen and paper handy, you may want to grab that because I am going to give you important dates. If you don't, but you still are interested in the dates, just real quick in another browser, go to anniehelpsyou.com and click on Unleash. Then you can grab my March 2026 free Sweet and Salty report, which gives you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything else relevant, all the things I'm going to talk about here, plus so much more in your inbox. And I do only send out 2 mailings a month, so you will not get spammed. All right, so let's just get down into it and look at the spirit of this month. And it will be very different as the month progresses. At the beginning of the month, we've got a very emotional, driven series of Pisces placements. Mars will get there soon in the month, transiting North Node, the Sun, Pallas Athena, Mercury in retrograde, and Venus, all in this beautiful, quiet, artistic feeling Pisces flow. So you'll have lots of opportunities for close emotional connections, especially with important family members, because Pisces transits gather in the Sagittarius house of Cancer, which is the 4th house. And so there are going to be some things on your mind about your home, your housing, your real estate. And there are also going to be some very important and very positive links between Venus and the just waking up Jupiter, which is probably the biggest news of the month for Sagittarius, is that our ruler is waking up. All right, so I'm going to talk more about that, but I just kind of am layering everything in here. So the Pisces placements are bringing us to these heartfelt conversations, these important conversations. There can be a lot of waterworks this month, good tears, bad tears, things that needed to be said, things that just have been on your mind and heart and may want to come out. You may need a little extra emotional support this month, or you may be offering support for some people in your family. Or there may just be some bittersweet things going on as some new things are opening up and the old things are coming to a close involving something important in family or housing. Now, as Venus moves along, and actually this Venus aspect happened recently, and it's going to be these other Mars and the Sun placements that are going to still come and connect with Jupiter, the now waking up Jupiter. All right, so let's actually talk about Jupiter waking up for a few minutes because this is of critical importance. So Jupiter is our ruler. Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter rules enthusiasm and zealotry and excitement and long range forward thinking as far as like big visions. Those superseding, seemingly impossible dreams, the way Sagittarius can do it. All of that, including optimism and creation or solutions that are creative, positive solutions. All of that's ruled by Jupiter. So when Jupiter went to sleep in November, we started to get dialed back. Everything that we do to the nth degree started to get dialed back. Everything we did with excitement and enthusiasm may have started to be dialed back. We may have had a little bit more of a reasonable approach to certain things in our lives. We may have started to get a little bit less interested in things in our lives, especially things that we were excited about before. I always say that we sometimes start to not recognize ourselves anymore when Jupiter goes into retrograde. We think we've become a person of few interests, a person with lackluster viewpoints, a person who is not super interested about anything and is not really moved very much by much. And that really has to do with Jupiter going retrograde. So if you have seen that within yourself, if you felt more depressed, if you felt more low, it's possible that there's a link to this Jupiter transit. And this will be confirmed to be true if this month you start really feeling more optimistic. Sometimes a sensitive person will notice it a little bit before, like even the end of January. As February progresses, you might notice that certain things are just starting to wake up in your being that had been dormant. All right, so you will be feeling that. And I'm so excited about that for us. We have 8 months of a happy, direct, expanding Jupiter. And we've got 4 months of the going backwards part, but it is purposeful. It always tests our skyscraper potential. That's what I like to see Jupiter in retrograde as. So basically, if we're trying to build a skyscraper, it can only go as high as its base is strong and grounded. So in the retrograde, we're sort of doing a base check, and we're seeing, did extra supports need to be given for how high we want to build this skyscraper? You know, is what we had reasonable? Is this what we're really interested in? How far do we want to go with this? You know, do we want to even do it? Those kind of questions come up with things in our lives when Jupiter is in retrograde, and then we do all of these cross checks, and then when it goes direct, the building process starts, and it becomes very rapid. So, you know, so be prepared for that, because you will feel it, and it will possibly feel like it's happening kind of quickly. Now, where it's waking up for us is in our 8th house of other people's money, shared resources. So since we've got a lot of home and family stuff being lit up by Pisces, and because we have Jupiter waking up in fellow water sign to Pisces, Cancer, and Jupiter in Cancer is expanding home and family and housing, and the Pisces placements are moving through our 4th house, which rules the home and family and housing, we can expect a lot of attention on those kind of things. Wills, contracts, legacy things, inheritances, winnings, shared resources, spousal money, family money, taxes, loans, debt. All of those things are coming up. And because there is a nice angle between the planets that are going to make this nice aspect with Jupiter, there could be some good news there. Now, all of this is still happening within the context that these are water energies and we're fire signs. So we might have to push through some of the emotional work in order to get to the goodies. And it may feel like we're having to slow down a little bit. And this month is a grand slowdown because we do also have Mercury retrograde. But Mercury will wake up March 20th. Jupiter wakes up March 10th. So kind of in the midst of this watery shadow, we've got these wake-up points. All right, so just to go back here, Mercury will be retrograde in Pisces from 22 degrees to 8 degrees. That's making us rethink and reconsider things in home and family, as well as address other things that come up with all of these planetary movements. February 12th, the pre-shadow period started. February 26th, the official retrograde occurred. March 20th is when it goes direct, and it will be a little groggy until April 10th, which opens our big open period, one of our best open periods for forward movement in the whole year. April 10th through around June 13th. All right, so this is a building time of getting ready to do important things. But this month, we may still be more responsive rather than proactive. All right, so that's very important to know, because this eclipse, March 3rd at 12 degrees of Virgo, full moon lunar eclipse, is going to be happening. And then that's going to bring a lot of news and important developments. But because of the retrogrades, we're not really necessarily clear on what this news means. And so we are going to need a little time, these weeks that follow, to kind of see, okay, so this is happening. This means this. All right, it's going in this direction. This means this. And then as the month progresses, these Pisces planets turn into Aries planets. It becomes a fire festival, which activates everything fiery and saggy. And then the action-oriented nature takes over, and the thinking and feeling process is done, and we launch into whatever we're going to do. So you'll feel that starting to get really froggy and rambunctious and creative and excited and exuberant as the Aries placements move along. March 20th is when the sun gets there. Venus will be there earlier, like March 7th. So there's this building process from the water to the fire, from the feeling to the doing, from the considering and reconsidering to the redirection or the action. And you'll feel this as the month goes on. But until after the 20th, you're still very much on the shore, waiting for the tides to come in, waiting for them to bring in information. You're responding to, but not definitively acting for sure and with finality with the information that comes in, because new information is going to come in every week, every day, even in some cases, and you've just kind of got to wait for your moment. Love and money are going to be really big this month because as Venus moves into Aries, it will be making a conjunction with Neptune, then with Saturn, then with Chiron and Ceres and Eris. And so all of this is going to occur in fire. And this is all going to make trines the most favorable aspect in all of astrology with our Sagittarius placements. So anything having to do with children, creativity, love, romance, it's going to have a lot of action this month. And since a lot of this energy is conjunction, some of this may be intense. There could be something to work through. There could be a wake-up call. There could be a point of challenge. There could be a point of breakthrough that you get through. Conjunctions are not inherently good or bad or easy or sweet or salty. They are just an intensity, a coming together of these energies in whatever way that's going to look. So a lot's going to be occurring, in this world of your creative spirit and your creative juices and your creative zest. But as Venus moves over Saturn, you may start to really be getting ready to build something. Build a life with someone, build something, involving a relationship with a child or with children, your own or others. And there may be some defining pivotal moments here that have to do with how you're going to take what you're good at and bring it to the world, or how you're going to do it better or more, even just for yourself. So, either way, it's going to start what's going to become this fire frenzy, and, it builds throughout the month. So that's very exciting. So we're going to have a lot of sogginess, a lot of emotions. We'll get through that. We'll get to the fire. We'll get to the activity and the action. And as the last 10 days of the month especially, you're really going to be ready to take some action. And you can do things. Just remember, if there's a big commitment, something binding, something, that you need to be locked into, you may want to be spending some weeks, as you get into April, building that dream, building that commitment, building that structure, because you're not going to have as much clarity or oomph until then. All right, let's talk back about this eclipse. Now, the eclipses are in Pisces and Virgo, started at the end of 2024 and will go until early 2027. Every 6 months, we have this waking up of these energies. Specifically for Sagittarius, this is home versus work, career versus your family, your inner world versus your outer world, you in a place of authority, or you doing active things versus you and how you're feeling and how you are on the inside, housing, career. All of these things are in a very active set of changes at this time. And every 6 months, things are bubbling up from the quiet, lesser seen world, the unconscious or the private space. You've been working on them. And then, you're building towards these big reveals every 6 months as we get into eclipse season. So this eclipse is March 3rd, 12 degrees of Virgo, full moon lunar eclipse. But the eclipse season really started in January. Then we had the Leo Aquarius eclipse in February. I'm not going to talk about that one here, but it is still in effect in March here. So you may want to watch my February report, which is kind of unique in the way that it's one video that's time-stamped and not my usual individual videos. I was traveling, so I just kind of did that then. But anyway, so you can review the January and February reports to see more about those eclipses, because they still will be relevant now. But for this particular eclipse cycle, think back to 2015 to 2017. Think back to 2006 to 2008, because that's the last times we had the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. So what happened in home and work? Did you have a big move? I know I did. I had a big move in both of those times, like very, very major moves. Two of the most major moves of my life I had in that time. Does that mean you're going to move again now? Not necessarily. Does that mean something significant will happen with your home and family? Very likely. So something's going on there. Look back to your work, your career, your place out in the world. If you're retired and don't need to make money, passion project, community project, something where you're out being seen, helping others, or doing something for others in a big way. If something bad happened in those times, it doesn't mean that will happen again, because we have different stars now than we had then. But there are themes at work here. There's, your daily experience. There's your emotional world and your mundane reality. There's chaos versus form. There's structure versus imagination. And all of these are very much alive as we move through this eclipse cycle. So you will be feeling that all this month. And again, right, you may have to make decisions about something, and just kind of remember that as the month progresses, you'll have more energy, you'll have more clarity, and you'll have more momentum as those tides switch and start going out. So most of the month really is a reflection, looking back over things. And March 18th, we've got a 28-degree new moon in Pisces, which would be a really great time for wishing or intending anything that you want, but specifically around your home, your family, your ancestry, your inner world. You can plant some really important seeds at that time. Jupiter lurking around in the 8th house, which it has been since June, July of 2025, and will be there until July of 2026, makes you very susceptible to getting money from random places, winning it, earning it, having, it be inherited, having the loan that you need come through, paying off debt. You're very, very lucky with money for this year. So just kind of look out for those possibilities to activate that sector of your life, because you can definitely have lucky windfalls of money that come from Jupiter in this placement. If you resonate with my work, please subscribe, click like, and if you want the written star report that I talked about, the March report, then you can go to anniehelpsyou.com and put your name and email address in there. Just click on Unleash and put your info there. And in the welcome letter, it will give you instructions on how to get that monthly sweet and salty date report. If you want to see personalized reports for the outer planets, the ones that move slowly but bring major themes for your chart, go to Annie B. Clarity, Annie, the letter B, clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology with me, if you resonate with how I teach and you want to learn, either to help you and your family and your friends or to do it professionally, I have an astrology certification course that you can check out at beastropro.com, beastropro.com. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.